I want to talk about wealth systems. And what I mean by wealth systems when I mention it is the strategy that you put in place for yourself to build the end game, where you're trying to go, what your goal is, and that kind of stuff. What I've noticed from a lot of conversations that I have, and honestly with myself historically, is that we don't tend to put structure and gates around what it is we are trying to accomplish. And that just tends to let things get away from us. All right. So beating a like building a repeatable system is fairly simple. It's just a matter of putting it together and then actually acting on it. So my system's pretty straightforward. What I do is I take a look at the money I have coming in on a month-to-month basis, and I take out my expenses. I'm sure you guys know what that is, but whatever I know is a guarantee to have to be spent on a month-to-month basis. And then I split up the savings that I have in excess, and that's where my system comes into play. It's going to be a variety of things. It's going to take a look at extraneous, so entertainment, things like that. It's going to be set aside for things like food. That's definitely going to be an extraneous item because that can vary on a month to month, but you want to try to put a fence around it. In New York, it could be kind of tough if I'm being honest, but I digress. Investments are obviously a very big piece here, and then I'm going to say savings as a separate thing, even though I consider savings part of an investment as well. So what I do is I take a look and keep it very, very basic, okay? So I want to look at my overall risk tolerance. Now, I tend to lean on a pretty risky side of things. I'm not opposed to being in just pure stocks, whereas other people prefer ETFs or mutual funds or bonds or whatever, what have you, or some people just put in savings, which I think is a big mistake. But cash is a position as long as you plan on acting on that cash. But when rates and stuff like that are bad and the dollar value of the dollar is going down, it's not really where you want to be all the time. It shouldn't be a permanent position is really what I'm trying to say. So say I have $1,000 on a month-to-month basis, right? And this could be whatever number is comfortable for you once you determine what you actually have available. And big piece here is determine what you have available and take action. Most people will just end up spending this. That's what I did in the past. And it just caused me not to build up a portfolio that you're really going to need if you ever want to get to a state, especially if you work a 9 to 5 of actually being able to retire. You need these funds. You can't rely on a 401k or an IRA because God knows if you'll even be alive when you turn 60 or 70. So I take a look at my $1,000 and I go, all right, what have I done and what can I do with this, right? I take a look at the stocks, and I am very partial to more on growth and potential growth. So I like to look at secular trends, where things are potentially going, and I like to build positions in the stocks that I think have the biggest upside a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 to 10 years from now. Now, one thing I want to be clear about is when I buy stock, I'm not necessarily buying it to just hold it that entire time. I am a firm believer that there are points in a stock's life where you should take profits because sometime over that range of 5 to 10 years, that stock is going to come down. And I would like to manage to get some profits out of the market without having to rely on the market to go back up. So I do study charts. That's a different skill set that you may want to pick up and get it down. But overall, I'm going to take the $1,000 and I'm going to analyze probably somewhere around 5 to 7 stocks, which is generally what I focus on. You do any more than that, you're just going to be really overwhelmed. And then there's the ETF side of things, which I am a firm believer that you should keep a little bit in an ETF if your risk tolerance is low, especially. So looking at like VU or the SPY or the QQQ are decent indexes that you can just get into. VU is an ETF, SMH for exposure semiconductors. There's a lot of them that you can really get into. It's a matter of like looking what is strong and what you're most interested in. But when I'm talking about stocks, I mean like taking this seriously and actually doing the research necessary to understand why you are building a position in a company overall. So just name a few, and this isn't financial advice or anything along those lines, but these are the ones that I study. And we're looking at Tesla. If you're bearish on Tesla, you're just going to be you're a fool. Tesla, I don't care who the CEO is either. That's the big point. Tesla, Nvidia, is another big one. I'm big on AMD as well. Notice a trend here: AI, robotics, that kind of stuff. Iris Energy, another one I'm very big on. Just listened to the earnings call this past week, which was really cool to listen to, and I think that stock is severely undervalued. It's currently under $10. It's actually under, I think it's around 8 something and some change right now as we speak. Iren is very big for me. Uber, I think, is very big. I think as we get into autonomous driving, Uber is going to become more and more important. Looking at stocks like Hims, in the medical space, they're growing. The CEO is on point, and it's currently like just always in the public, providing value and encouraging people and encouraging his company and showing where they're going, which is really cool to see and listen to. It's rare that you get a CEO that is that out in the open. Those are probably the 5 or 6 stocks. I think I named 5 or 6 that I'm biggest on. And then on the other side, I'm very big into AI on crypto. You'll notice a trend. I think AI, tech, and crypto are really where the market and stuff is going to go. And you can see that with why the Mag 7 does so well is because a large chunk of those companies are involved in some capacity in tech and in AI. So I like to build up my portfolio. Oh, and one other one I am big on, well, I'll name 2. They're in fintech, which is Robinhood and Sophie. I think Sophie right now has a bit to catch up on in how much attention Robinhood gets. Robinhood itself, we've all seen the run this last year. It was down like $8 a share last year around this time, I believe, and now it's floating around 60. So I think that there are avenues in all these stocks that if you wait patiently and you build the portfolio consisting of like a large chunk of some of these, there's good potential down the line. But, do your research, understand where these companies are going and what they mean and what they're going to bring to the table, and the better off that you'll be. So I will take the $1,000 and I will go, okay, what is my focus? Where are they at? What dollar value? How much do they cost? And I'll take a chunk out, a portion of that $1,000 and put it into the stocks that I feel are at a level that I would like to buy at right now. If you are building a savings, I recommend that you take $1,000 and you probably separate about 20 to 30% of that out into an emergency fund. You definitely are going to want an emergency fund because if that market pulls back, you're going to want cash on hand to be ready to buy. And also you're going to want cash on hand just in case emergencies hit the fan. So you should really have 2 funds there now that I mentioned that. So you should have a savings and then you should have an emergency, right? And the big thing here, guys, is like, you don't want to separate your ability to be able to invest because of what happens in the exterior. Like when the stocks fell not that long ago, it stands to reason why a lot of people were scared to enter the market because they were falling. But if you were ready, you didn't have anything to worry about. You had cash, you could go in, and it really is just a matter of being prepared for the situation. So when they do happen, which markets are going to pull back, you are ready to take action. And the big thing here to take home, if there's anything, that I'm talking about in this video, is be ready to do what you got to do when the time strikes, and you will be absolutely golden. And I know that sounds a little bit nuts, but that's really it. You can't let the exterior factors be ready to take you down. You have to be prepared because no one else is taking care of it for you. And the more you put into your system of how you want to build something, the better off you're ultimately going to be. Because if you're not putting structure and framework around the things that you're trying to get done, you're just going to end up being left behind and not be in a situation where you feel good moving forward. And instead, you live in a state of worry and fear. And that's really just not a good place that anyone really wants to be in. You have to remain in a state of like, there's opportunity in everything. When my friends were going, oh, it's going down, we're going to lose. I'm like, nah, I just see a sale. You have to get in. And what happened, inevitably, the market bounced back and people were good. And that's really like the big thing you need to understand is like the market perpetually goes up. It's very rare if you look at the last 50, 60 years, I've said this before, the SPY, that it's always down. It's going to have a year down here and there, but mostly you are going to see green. Now, in the next video, I'm going to outline a little bit more of my tracker and how I do it. I like to do it a bit manually. I think it's enjoyable to be able to go in and update as I buy shares or sell shares and move money around and track my portfolio allocation and how that shifts and fluctuates. So I'll show you guys a little bit of a sample of what that looks like in the next video. Thanks.